All right, welcome everyone to the final Youth for Capacity session at COP29. We've been running a couple of sessions over the last couple of days. We're at the penultimate day of COP29. So let's do an energy check. How are we doing? Give me a thumbs up if you're doing above 7 on 10 in week 2. Okay, I see like 4 or 5 thumbs up. Give me a this if you're doing like somewhere in between 4 to 7 on 10. Okay, 2 this. Give me a thumbs down if you're like not doing well at all. Okay, we have no thumbs down. That's a great way to kick things off, and hopefully these become this at the end of this session. But a warm welcome. My name is Riddhi, and I work for the Capacity Building Unit at the UNFCCC. It's my pleasure to have you all here. This Tools4Youth Marketplace is hosted by Youth for Capacity, so you've been scanning QR codes all of 2 weeks and all the days that you've been engaging with different things at COP, so there's another one for you. But just to give you a little bit of a taste and flavor of what we do with Youth for Capacity, but I actually have a very special person joining us today to kind of give us more info and launch something super secret that we've been working on for the last couple of months. So with me today, I have Sophie de Koning, the Director of the Means of Implementation Division at the UNFCCC. So over to you, Sophie. Huge round of applause for Sophie.
Thank you very much. Welcome everyone it's really my pleasure to welcome you to the Youth for Capacity's Tools4Youth Marketplace, a long name for a very interesting initiative that we're launching here at the 6th Capacity Building Hub today, where we hope that innovation and collaboration will converge. This is a space for young leaders like you to access tools, resources, knowledge and network necessary to drive impactful climate action. I don't have to tell you that youth are at the forefront of the climate movement, and it's really, really needed and welcome, demanding change, leading the way toward a sustainable, equitable future. And to truly transform our world, young people need the knowledge, the skills, and some support to lead effectively. Whether through online courses, workshops, mentorships, capacity building is key for young people to empower themselves to create tangible change within their communities and beyond. The Summit of the Future, to zoom out a bit on our UN jargon, in September produced a new negotiated pact for the future, which calls on states to support youth-led and youth-focused organizations, in particular through capacity building. Parties and organizations funding youth solutions and initiatives are indeed fundamental to progress. At this marketplace today, we're showcasing transformative resources, and I would really love to kick things off with, I guess that was the secret, the Becoming a Climate Champion e-course developed by UNITAR and UNFCCC. This course is focused on 5 critical skills for climate action: leadership, project management, resource mobilization, leaving no one behind, and communication. These skills, combined with technical knowledge of climate change, enable youth. It says in my note, will empower you. I don't like the word empower. I think youth empower themselves. Everyone is actually empower themselves instead of being empowered. But all in all, with the intention to lead impactful climate initiative. Through this course, you will learn from expert practitioners and youth leaders. In the leadership module, you will explore various leadership styles, and youth leaders will share their personal experiences. You will receive practical insights on project management and resource mobilization. And in the Leaving No One Behind module, you will learn the importance of inclusivity in climate action, while in the communication modules, you will gain skills on how to impactfully, effectively communicate your initiatives. This engaging, accessible course offers real-world stories and actionable tips for creating successful climate projects. Upon completion, you'll earn a UN certificate, a credential that demonstrates your commitment to global climate action, and also an evidence of the learning you've gone through. I really encourage you all to dive into the course and explore the invaluable resources available to you. As we move forward, I hope you will take full advantage of the opportunities and the resources here today. This is your chance to not only gain valuable skills, but also to become part of a larger movement or strengthen your linkages to that movement that's being shaped by passionate people like all in the room. The tools, knowledge, and networks you gain here will help you drive further change in your communities and beyond. Now, none of this would have been possible without the leadership and the vision of the Italian Ministry for the Environment and Energy Security, which I would like to thank very much. Italy is a thriving example of a party which is investing in young people's capacities through the Youth for Capacity program that we host at the UNFCCC and Youth-led Solutions through the sibling initiative, Youth for Climate, hosted by UNDP Rome Center. With that, it's my pleasure to now hand over to the Director General of the Italian Ministry for the Environment and Energy Security with some keynote remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie, for your kind words and introduction. Well, I joined my post in June this year. Roberta and Emanuela start talking to me every day about youth, young project, and I said, well, I found really a good place to work. Then other issue came, but for sure the file related to young people, to youth, they show me videos, project ideas are really interesting and push you to commit furthermore. So it's a pleasure to witness today this incredible synergy between Youth for Capacity, UNITAR, and Yango in creating the Tools for Youth Marketplace. This event is not just about showcasing tools, but about fostering a community where your leader can find the resources they need to turn their ideas into impactful action. Italy is proud to support this initiative, recognizing the transformative potential of youth-led solution in addressing climate challenges. The Tools for Youth Marketplace exemplifies our commitment to making climate solution accessible. By bridging the gap between tool developers and youth leaders, we ensure that these innovations are not just concepts, but practical resources for driving change at the grassroots level. Empowering youth with these tools enables them to lead with knowledge and confidence in their communities and beyond. As a donor country, through the Youth for Capacity program, we aim to strengthen the capacity of youth worldwide, fostering leadership, collaboration, and action. Let this marketplace be a testament to our collective dedication to equipping the next generation with the tools to be the resilient and climate-conscious world. I will close all in all saying that we had just have a meeting with, I don't remember the name, but the office in charge for raising funding for the UNFCCC, and we confirm our commitment on this program. We are exploring also to further support even more in the future. And so I will conclude, say that you can count on Italy. We stand here together with you today and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much to both our director and DG. A huge round of applause for that. I think when people, parties, organizations fund and believe in young people's solution, this is what happens. We have a full room with tools, capacities, networking, communication, knowledge, all of that going around. This 1 hour, 1.5 hour that not 1.5, 1 hour, I have to look at Eva, she's going to keep time on how we do this. We're going to do a bunch of different things. We have a quick panel, then we have some presentations, then we have an opportunity to network as well. So it's my absolute pleasure to invite a couple of young names. And as Sophie mentioned, it's not really about empowering youth. I think young people are already empowered. And we have a mantra that we talk about in the capacity building team, that it's not just about building young people's capacities. Young people are capacity builders themselves. So we have some capacity builders here. So could I please invite Leila Hasanova, the COP29 Youth Climate Champion. Huge round of applause for Leila. She's been running all over COP, so she deserves a huge, huge round of applause. Then next I have Corey Witter, the Executive Director of the Youth Climate Lab. Welcome, Corey. Then we have Maria Paula, who is the Development Director of Youth for Nature. And then finally, my dear friend Akash Ranison, who is an author and a sustainability advocate. And I'm going to switch there now. As you will see on the screen, we're here to kind of discuss why tools. Why do tools for youth matter? So I actually want to kick off with Leila here, who's like right next to me. So it is almost like passing the baton here. So Leila, in your role as the Presidency Youth Climate Champion for COP29, how have you facilitated young people's access to tools that raise their climate literacy and advocacy skills? How do these tools enhance their impactful engagement at the local and regional level? We're at the international level. Let's also talk about what happens from there.
Thank you so much, Vidhi. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's been a tough 2 weeks for all of us, I think. And we made it here. So happy to see all of you here and smiling. Very lovely. Regarding coming to question, so Presidency Youth Climate Champion role was established last year at COP28. Parties agreed on finally having a focal point for young people in COP presidency. So from now on, there will be always a Presidency Youth Climate Champion appointed to bridge the gap between policymakers and young people, youth NGOs, Youngo, and children as well. So here, coming to the gap that is what we did this year, and I think it was a really huge success from taking it. It was a regional level, but still. We hosted a climate change summer camp for 75 young educators. We specifically focused on young educators because one educator educated about climate change and what is the science behind climate change goes back to their respective communities and delivers to hundreds and thousands of young people, children, about climate change and the science behind it. So we try to make a focus on that. And there are, of course, so many tools available. And as you mentioned, we are ourselves capacity builders. We already built our capacity, and now we build others' capacity. And this is actually a very proud moment for us to see that, I mean, us young people, to see that we are building capacity of others, children around us, young people, and our relatives. For example, they learn a lot from us. They learn about how they can run a sustainable life, how can their daily habits influence and make a better and greener future. So also there are some tools like Youngo's Youth Advocacy Toolkit, which provides concrete steps for youth to enter policy spaces, and it helps them engage in both international negotiations and local policy discussions. Also, in my role as Presidency Youth Climate Champion, we host several consultations throughout the year, and we try to bring youth voices and their concerns, their innovative ideas and solutions to the table and bridge them with the policymakers.
Fantastic. So a lot of training of trainers, creating those communities of practice and really mobilizing young people's knowledge, skills, all of that. And I guess it's also about when you train the trainers, equipping them with the right tools and the effective tools that make this process happen as efficiently and as quickly as possible, because we are running on a clock right now. But no, thank you so much for sharing some very concrete examples as well. The whole of PYCC team has been doing fantastic work through the year. And yeah, thank you so much for being here as well. Speaking of how difficult it is with week 2, everyone has a COP bottle with them, right? Yeah. So every time we say tools for the next hour, everyone takes a sip of water. That's how we stay hydrated and powered through the rest of the COP, the 2 days that we have, or how many ever days you have left. Perfect. With that, I would like to now move to Corey. Tell us about Youth Climate Lab's work on tools for youth, particularly in the creation of the Youth Climate Lab toolbox. What were some of the key challenges in ensuring the tools were accessible and effective, especially for marginalized youth? And how were these challenges addressed?
Yeah, for sure. Wait, this is working, right? Okay. Yeah, so I'm Corey. I'm the executive director of Youth Climate Lab, which is a youth-led, youth-serving nonprofit based out of Canada, but we work internationally as well. And yeah, we have the Youth Climate Toolbox on our site that's very popular, and it was kind of created with the sense of a lot of our work is around growing and scaling programs and trying out new ideas for projects that engage youth. And we were trying to think of like, how do we let this information go beyond the program itself? So the creation of tools was really a way to like take learnings and take what we're hoping to do and all the knowledge that's being gained and making it like open access data for people. I don't believe in industry secrets or in guarding knowledge to yourself. You can ask me literally anything and I will tell you all of it. And I think that's a big part of what this toolbox is about, is really having the knowledge shared is how we're gonna like move forward together, especially as youth when you're really trying to figure out where you are and where you're going. Some barriers that exist is really, you know, getting the knowledge out there, making sure it's accessible to folks. Some stuff we do is having multiple ways of engaging with the knowledge. So we have like audio files and blogs and podcasts. We also have like visual representations of knowledge. We also have written reports. We also have programs that kind of build off the knowledge, and we'll offer workshops if people want to get a bit deeper or they're like not sure how the best way to engage in it. And yeah, I think a good example of that is like our Radical Collaboration program, which has been really popular. So we have both blogs of different leaders across Canada on radical collaboration, on how to build different networks and different partnerships. We also have radical collaboration conversation cards for people just trying to scratch the surface. And we also have an 8-month program of going really deep into radical collaboration, which follows up with like microfinancing and mentorship opportunities and building your own community projects. So the levels of engagement and different levels of knowledge exist for a lot of the topics we try to cover. And we try to kind of make it accessible and really stay on the pulse of what youth are like wanting to learn about. So we do a lot of engagement with youth, a lot of conversations around what's pertinent, what's interested right now, and we do a lot of partnerships. So we've done stuff like the Northern Climate Policy Manual, we do like direct action one-on-ones, so all the way from like, I wanna get involved to I wanna know policy about this specific area we tend to cover, and that kind of makes things more accessible. And yeah, it's really just trying to get the partnerships, get the information out there. I've noticed a lot in the last couple of weeks. A theme that keeps coming up to me is there's so much knowledge and interesting work happening, and there's always this continuous disconnect of trying to just find the thing that you're looking for. It almost always exists, but like, how do you find it? And that's always the biggest struggle, and I think that's something we truly try to be aware of, but there's a lot more work to be done in that regard as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Corey. And speaking of it's difficult to find things, we actually in the room right now have 18 different tools on different topics. So once we get to the networking segment of this marketplace, this is an opportunity to really just engage with the tool itself and talk to the people that are the authors or the creators behind the tool to really give you that insight and not gatekeep any information, because there's so much of you read a tool and kind of absorb that, but then when you speak to the creator of it, you get the context behind it. And we do have one of the creators on this panel who I'll come to towards the end. But yeah, I'd like to now move on to Maria. In exploring synergies between the Rio conventions, this is a session that we actually had a couple of days ago as well, the role of youth in promoting coherent action across climate, biodiversity, and land agendas becomes even more critical. I think that's something that we saw at our session as well, and it's been going around. This is one of the 3 COPs that are going to happen this year. So tell us more about Youth for Nature's Nature Climate Hub and how it supports youth efforts to bridge these areas, and how can tools empower young advocates to engage in these synergies?
Hi, everyone. First, Corey, I would love to play with conversation cards. I think this is such a great idea to get the conversation started. But yeah, hey, everyone. My name is Maria Paula. I'm from Brazil, and I'm here representing Youth for Nature. Youth for Nature is a by Youth for Youth international organization working at the intersection of both nature and climate. And we do a bunch of things as other like youth organizations. We have small but mighty teams, and we work with 3 different programs. One is capacity building, the other one is storytelling, and then we have knowledge sharing. And we really feel that, and we know that knowledge is an access point for youth to get into this movement. And while we were trying to come up with a part of the solution, so we understand that this is a huge puzzle, and we need all the parts connected. So we were trying to understand what the problem was, and talking to our communities, one of the challenges that we learned and heard a lot about was that we have a huge challenge in entering the space and also like retention of knowledge in this space. So when young people are just like kind of getting started in the climate and youth and biodiversity movement, there is a huge gap so that they can enter this space. And this includes jargon-heavy language, so all the acronyms that we use that we're very familiarized with, but other young people that just got into the space feel very surprised, and I was one of them. When I saw UNFCCC, I was like, what? And NBS, everything was so new and so different. So we trying to dismantle this like jargon-heavy language, and also like most of the knowledge that we have, this knowledge comes in English, which is also a barrier to many communities and youth locally on the ground doing amazing things, but they don't speak English and they don't have access to this specific knowledge. And so young people have this challenge of like getting into the space, but once they are in the space, there's also a challenge of retention. Many young people say that they feel tokenized or extracted as knowledge holders in many of the spaces. Other young people say they don't feel very welcomed or they hardly ever are compensated for the work that they do. Which is something that we should talk more about, how to compensate these young people that are bringing expertise, that are bringing amazing work on the ground to be compensated for the work that they do. So thinking about this problem and how young people, and I think it's cool because we talked about empowerment and like how young people were feeling disempowered and how they were not feeling that they were left out of meaningful contribution. So sometimes they would be invited to tables, but not prioritized. Also, they would speak, but they felt that they were not actually like heard by the people that were on the spaces and in the climate and nature space. And this is why we created a knowledge hub to try to address a part of this huge puzzle that is access to knowledge and retention to young people in the youth climate and nature movement. So we created this tool. You can check. We have a QR code. You can take a look at the tool. And the idea is that we bring knowledge, specific knowledge and resources in the climate and nature space, because we talk a lot about biodiversity. We understand that we are nature as well, and how we can access these resources that sometimes are very these resources and this knowledge that sometimes it's very into the scientific community level, but it's not in our traditional and also like on the ground work as young people. So the idea is really to bridge this gap between climate, nature, and young people. And we know that youth must be valued for what we offer, and we are already experts in many fields. And we also have a lot to learn, and there's a lot of capacity building, and I think it's amazing the work that Youth for Capacity is doing right now, and also bridging this gap, and also working on capacity building. But we need to remember that we're experts in other many fields. And I think the knowledge hub that we have at Youth for Nature showcases this really focusing on like what young people can bring to the table and what is the knowledge that we have on nature and biodiversity and how we can tap into this knowledge, but also speak the same language as other experts and adults in this space. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Maria. Speaking of the hub, we're actually at the 6th Capacity Building Hub. So just to give you a little bit of intro on the space that is hosting us, which is so important, she mentioned some acronyms. There's another one that I'm going to throw at you. It's the PCCB. If you don't know what that is, it's the Paris Committee on Capacity Building, which is a constituted body under the convention. And it works on all things capacity building. We're going to hear tools and we're going to hear capacity building a lot today. So if you want to check out some of the work that the constituted bodies are doing, that's a place to go. The PCCB also has its own voluntary sort of association of members. The network banner is right there, and the network coordinator is at the back of the room ever. So if you'd like to have a conversation, any youth-led organizations or any organizations in general who are interested in working in capacity building, please do look at the PCB network. It's a great source of knowledge, of connections, of networks, all of that. Okay, I want to do a show of hands. Who, between the conversation of books versus movies, who here likes movies more than books? Okay, we have some hands up. Who likes books more than movies? Okay. When it comes to books, do you like a hard copy or do you like a Kindle or a whatever PDF version of it? So Kindle, hands up for Kindle. We have 3 Kindles, okay. Hands up for hard copies. Speaking of hard copies, we have Akash right here. There we go. So Akash is the author of I Am a Climate Optimist. There we go. That is a fantastic book that he has written, which kind of breaks down complex environmental issues into very actionable steps. Anyone and everyone can pick this book up and has access to a huge number of resources, all sorts and types of resources. So while it is designed within the Indian context in mind, we've been chatting all week about how do we tap into within our country as well, given that both of us come from India. The framework that you offer with the book is kind of can be adapted to different regions, contexts, countries, cities. So in your opinion, why is it crucial to create more localized toolboxes like yours, and how can these toolkits be customized to address the climate challenges faced by different regions and contexts?
Hello, yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me on board. And so before I come to like how to do more of such books, how to create more such tools for different regions, we need to understand that how I was able to do it. Obviously, I didn't go to any college to think that, okay, I'm going to start working in this specific field of environment or climate change. I, for 10 years, was just traveling across the nation in different nations, hitchhiking, cycling, and walking. And that gave me the opportunity to see the country in different states and what languages do they speak, what food they eat, how do they live, what is their culture across the nation. There are like so many states. It's top to bottom more than 3,500 kilometers. So it's a huge country. Traveling across, I learned about different cultures and everything. And I didn't think that I'm gonna be writing a book, but when it came to writing a book, my idea was very simple that I want things to be very action oriented, that if I do something, I don't want you to just read something to enjoy or to get inspired. Inspiring is not a thing what I do. Like, I can inspire you, but then what do you do with that inspiration? You go back home, you sleep, and next day you go back to your normal life. So the idea was that how can I make something very concrete, which helps people take action. And another thing is whenever we talk about climate change, which you also mentioned a little bit, that either it's very simplified, like, okay, don't use single-use plastic, use bamboo toothbrush and you fix climate change, that is wrong. Or the other way is like, okay, it's full of IPCC report, full of jargon, but there are about 8 billion people who don't know IPCC, what is exactly it, what does it do? And then these people starts to believe that, okay, cool, if I don't use single-use plastic, I can fix climate change. That's also wrong. So this is where I come in between, trying to present this book to people. So this book writes climate change in a very simple language without even actually using the word climate change, because these people don't know climate change. They know nature, they know environment. So the book focuses towards not solving a problem, towards building a good life for myself. Because if I say you have to do something for someone else, we are way too selfish. If we were really that mindful, we wouldn't be in this situation now. So here I'm trying to help people build a good life for them. The book breaks down into several industries like food and beverage, textile, transportation, beauty cosmetics, and different ones. Plastic, one of them, or construction as well, right? And the last one is beliefs and choices. And the whole book is sort of like a narrative where I tell stories that how my maternal grandmother took care of things in the house. How if we have old clothes, we didn't throw it off, we had some system. So I'm making it connected to the story so that people who live in India, they are reading a story. I don't want them to read a climate science book. It's a boring thing for them, they don't want to do it. They are into art, somebody is into engineering, somebody is into filmmaking, or might be something else. So I need to cater to them without knowing that who they are. So I try to keep it storytelling. Everybody loves story. So the stories, and we talk about different religion and different festivals in India to connect it to climate change, that how we eat so many things which are vegan without telling them to go vegan. I don't push people to go vegan. I just tell them that, okay, what is right you can do and you can make a choice. And in this book, I have like somewhere about 45 industry leaders, people like the creative chief head of Ogilvy and Mather. He has written with me into it because I believe greenwashing is a big thing. So why don't I get the guy who's big at it to talk about greenwashing into it? Then I'm talking about textile. So I have like a person called Rahul Mishra, who's very big name in India and globally when it comes to fashion. So if I'm asking people to go sustainable, shop sustainable, I need to bring the producer or the company as well on the same page to produce sustainable, or the MD and CEO of Mercedes-Benz. That if I'm asking people to buy a EV or look into the future of sustainable mobility, I need to bring in the key stakeholders as well who can really bring the change. And then in the end of each and every chapter, we have a section called resource, because now I have inspired you. I told you stories to hook you up. I gave you a lot of data which comes from very reliable sources. And I have such amazing key holders, key people in the book who are from the industry. But then now what do you do with this inspiration and knowledge you have? You will just go and be inspired and you will think about environment. But now we don't end there. Each chapter, which is an industry, comes with a section called resource, where we tell you, let's say, for example, food. We tell you 5 books you can read specifically on food and climate change if you are expert in that field or you're interested into that specific field. If you say like, no, books are very boring, like there were few people, including me, who raised their hand when you said movie. I'm more of a movie guy, less of a book guy. I can write, but I can't read. So I'm like, okay, a book is boring, show me something else. I'm like, documentaries, 5 documentaries you can watch, and we give the URL as well, because you can say, I couldn't find which platform is it on, there are so many OTTs. We give you the URL, go watch. You'll be like, no, documentary is too big. I'm like, okay, 18 minutes TED Talks. 18 minutes, it'll end there. Be like, no, 18 minutes is too long for me, it's too serious. I'm like, okay, cool, I understand, I'm the same guy. Let's go to YouTube or Instagram, let's find these 5 influencers, you can follow them, 1 minute short content, happy, funny thing, like Riddhi creates, it's about climate change, but it's funny, right? So you can watch that and still learn about it, but then you'll be like, no, not Instagram, anything. Make me act, I don't want to learn, you said, I accept, let's do it. I'm like, okay, here are shops you can buy grocery from. Here are shops alternative meat from. Here are shops alternative milk from. You'll be like, no, Akash, I don't want to buy. I don't know how to cook. And I don't know how to boil the vegan milk. It's different from the normal milk. I'm like, here are cafes and restaurants. Go and eat. Now, if you don't do it, that's your choice. And I'm okay with it. I'm very happy, relaxed person, optimistic. I'm going to tell you the solution. It's up to you to do or not. And that's what this book tries to do for the whole population of the nation, India.
That's great work. Can we have a huge round of applause for that? Just so many actions. I think throughout all of our panelists kind of talking about their work and what all the toolboxes and hubs and everything that's they've been working on. I think there's so many actionable things across the length, breadth, all of that. That being said, I think within all of our journeys and everyone in this room, we all started somewhere. We all started with that one climate action toolkit tool. That was the first thing, maybe from a very academic setting where we're in school or whatever, or it was beyond when we were looking at our advocacy efforts. So everyone has a tool that they swear by. What's a tool within your personal climate toolbox and journey in general that every young person should grab first as they start off? So just an example, because we have had a lot of examples, let's go with more. We are going to talk about tools and resources for the next 45 minutes as well. So Leila, from your experience, what is that one tool that you would recommend definitely?
Well, really, tools need to be linked to reality. So we have to search for the tools that are actually make sense. So I'll tell you my story. When the tool that worked for me was very much basic, UNFCCC System Staff College, and it worked very much good because they had information about everything. And now actually we're also working together with Secretariat on delivering more programs available on UNFCCC, because the Secretariat gives the most concrete examples and toolkits where we can adjust our knowledge on climate change. That is what worked for me. Yeah, but I think there are more to come, and I've made my notes here. There are mentorship programs like Climate Catalyst Mentorship by the Youth for Capacity. So that is why we can start with UNFCCC and move to advanced ones. Thank you.
I love that. I also love the shout out that we just got from Leila over here. So yeah, with Youth for Capacity's Climate Catalyst Mentorship Program, you could find it over there. It's actually in collaboration with our sibling initiative, Youth for Climate. I don't see anyone from the team here, but I'm sure everyone has heard of Youth for Climate as well. So both Youth for Capacity, Youth for Climate, often confused, but our sibling initiatives work together on people's capacities or young people's capacities and their solutions. So that's the framing that I think we work on together with, and we launched this mentorship program this year. I'm going to pass it over to Corey now. What's your one tool that you want to throw out there that young people should grab first and go?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have some one-on-one tools, but I say the one that everyone always says, okay, this is the most interesting, this is the most actionable, because the thing you want to do the most is create that action and have the energy. We have some tools on like municipal infiltration manuals, which is all about like how you lobby, how you talk to your local government, how do you drive that action. And I would say it's created a lot of very interesting programs and a lot of really interesting initiatives out of that. So I always recommend people look at that if they're hoping to really, get in the weeds of it and get going with it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Maria, over to you.
My one to-go tool, I'm going to say, well, I'm doing a social media detox, so what I'm going to say, it's going to sound confusing, but my one-two that I use to organize with other climate activists around the world is Instagram. And yeah, I followed a bunch of people that are, well, fighting for the same things that I'm fighting and have the same energy of bring change and also like do things outside of the status quo that brought us to this crisis in the first place. And this is a place that I can connect with other people and interact and organize myself locally also on actions and what we want to do on the ground. And I think it's a good tool to connect things that happen in this international level to what we have in our territories, in our communities. So I would say my to-go-to, sadly, it is Instagram, but...
I think that's very valid. And speaking of Instagram, actually, Akash and I connected on Instagram. So we made this happen, and he's part of the panel because we reached out to each other on Instagram. So, Akash, I know you've given a lot of tools, but what's your one go-to besides your book?
Apart from this book, one thing which I can say that I'm more of a visual person, I'm less of a book person, I know, but
Of that you say that as an author after writing the book.
No, I'm like, my book is good, so people will still buy it, so I don't need to sell it by saying that I read it. It's for the one who reads. What I really like is visual, because I make documentary filmmaking, a documentary as well, so I'm done with the book on this panel, so I'm already starting to put out that I'm video guy. So you can call me for the next one on the documentary. But there's a website called Water Bear. It's called waterbear.com. It has an app as well. You can download it on your phone, and they don't charge you any fees, right? It's free of cost, but it's sort of like the best documentary platform you can find out there. They have amazing documentaries on environment and different subjects and climate change, and they even link up charities with those documentaries. So if you watch the documentary, you want to take some action, you have the chance to go for volunteership or fellowship, or if you want to donate some money. So I find WaterBear is a very good platform. People should check out that.
Fantastic. So I hope that over the next 30 minutes while you have all of the different conversations that you've been having inspired by this or in general. You are able to share one tool that you use from your personal journey with the next person, the person next to you or the group next to you. But with that, we're going to switch things up. So I would like to thank our wonderful panelists. Can we have a huge round of applause for them? This was so enriching, and we have so many tools come up. I said tools again, so it's time to drink up. It's time to drink up water. That's what we're doing right now, staying hydrated. Fantastic. I will let you take a leave and join us in the audience. And with that, speaking of training the trainers, it's so important to thank our teachers and thank professors and people that take us through that journey. And the next speaker that we have on board is really special to me because I went to ETH Zurich. I'm an alumni from ETH Zurich, and Bin here, I'm just going to go to the next slide as she walks you through the next exercise. She was actually one of my professors at university, so I followed her work and worked with her as well. So I'm very thankful for our teachers in general, and she's going to walk us through the fantastic work that she's been doing now with TU Delft. But yeah, over to you, Bin.
Okay, thank you. I'll do the mic since otherwise I'll be completely hidden behind that. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, Gidi and Ava and all the organizing team for Youth for Capacity. They are great. First of all, a round of applause for them. They just do fantastic work. Yeah. Thank you so much. And also, I was really inspired by the panelists that were up here. I think they and the work they do is the reason why I feel energized being here at COP in the short amount of time that I have. But it's such an inspiring place. And part of the reason why COP is inspiring is that it is optimistic, right? We wouldn't be here if we thought that there's nothing to be done and it's all doom, right? But we are here because we know there are things to do. But it can also be a bubble. The bubble is that we are a group of people who see each other, mirror each other, and know that there's lots to do. So it's easy also to forget the number of other people who, for whatever reason, challenge they have in life, aren't able to take the action that, or don't feel the sense of efficacy that we do, right? So the methodology I'd like to discuss with you today, it's something that I call integrated systems and design thinking. It doesn't matter what exactly the name is exactly about how do we take oftentimes the implicit, intuitive approaches that youth leaders have, and people who are thought leaders in general, and people who do things, they act. How do they think, what is the process they go through for creating change? And how do we take that to a greater number of people? And this is what this methodology is about becoming a change maker. And this is a methodology we've also taught to maybe about 1,800 students, both inside and outside the university now. And it's something that we really see being able to seed new initiatives out in the world, across the world. So I hope I can, but today I'm not going to talk so much about the specific steps of the methodology because there's a PDF online, you can walk through all the steps. I actually have some copies here with Ava, so you can just grab a book if you want to. But I'm gonna share with you what's not in the book, which is the reason and the mindset that we have behind developing this methodology. And I hope that gives you a little bit more context for what we're doing and why we're doing it. So before we do that, the whole idea of this methodology is how can we think about problems more creatively than solutions? And I'll then talk about go into a little bit about that a little bit later. But first, I want you just to go along with an exercise with me. So just to think about, what is one change you want to make in your own community, workplace, where you live, following COP29? Just one thing. You could just think about that. I think you probably have been asked this by other sessions and panels. But then I want to really ask you and be honest, what would stop you? What would really stop you from doing this? Has anything stopped you before? You don't need to share it. But I just want to draw that attention about what might stop you in terms of what might be the connection point between all the problems that we are discussing and talking about in this conference. And it's the fact that we're talking about problems that look like this. These are complex and wicked problems. These are problems that have two characteristics. And we often talk about them in terms of solutions, right? What works, what kind of negotiations we have to do, what do we do to make things work and for people to say yes. But ultimately, they share these characteristics. We have unclear problem definitions, and we have evolving solutions. This means that when we go into the room, we immediately begin negotiating solutions, right? But what I want to suggest, and what's often overlooked, and what all of the panelists have done, if you notice, is that they identify a specific problem. Because this can't be taken for granted, we oftentimes assume that when we step into the room, everybody has the same vision of what the reality is, and therefore we prioritize similarly. But that's not the case. And it's not the case because unclear problem definitions means that we ultimately really disagree about what really matters. And this is what I call values. We actually disagree on what we most value. So just as a test on this, I want to see in the room if this is also particularly true. So please raise your hand if you think climate goals need to be set by experts, so the targets, and we need to find ways to help everyone reach these goals. So please raise your hand if you believe this. A few, okay, a few in the corner, okay. Now raise your hand if you think we need a bottom-up approach where communities need to be supported to set their own targets. Okay, more. All right. Good. So between the two, you see that those are examples of different ways in which neither one is right or wrong, but those are completely different ways in which we can engage in specific solutions, right? And the differences in those values also show that values are not necessarily conflicting. They can be complementary, right? Because it doesn't mean that you can only focus on bottom-up or top-down, but they can work together. But the idea, however, is that that stands in the way if we don't identify it and we don't put our fingers on the fact that when you walk into the room, we have different values. The second aspect of why problem definitions are unclear is that we're uncertain about what we know and what we don't know. This is the second aspect of complex problems. We have different values, and we're not certain about what we know. So this relates to the idea of the fact that many of us, a lot of the work that's been done, we know what, for example, just as an example, what climate change is and what targets should be set, right? That's a lot of the discussions that have been had. The discussion we haven't had is something I call transformation knowledge, which is how do we do it? So you have the what targets, but how do we reach it? And we don't know how to do that, really. I mean, we have trial and error, we have different ideas, but nobody has done a scientific study on which of these pathways are best because it hasn't been done before. So, just as an example, I would like to raise your hand if you think effective change starts with the individual. The individual first. Okay, good. Now, raise your hand if you think effective change starts with the system. So I like to point out that most people raise their hands for both. So that means that is an indication of what we think is needed, but also an indication that we have to try different things, and that we actually don't have a fixed answer for how to make the transformation. And that in order to do so, we have to have this evolving solution. And the last part about this complex situation that we're in and why it's so complex is that even when we come to a clear problem definition, the solutions have to change. Because things change constantly. Just as a proof, raise your hand if you actually thought that Donald Trump was going to win the election a year ago. Okay, those are sentient people but most people, I would say, don't, right? So it's just as an understanding of all these things, right? When we go into all of the sessions that we've heard, we constantly talk about how things are so difficult, how they're complex, how it is that we're going to get to the next steps. But in using this particular approach, what we do is actually identify what are the aspects in the room that make the problem so difficult. It's about that let's first get explicit about what our different values are. how we think, what do we think we know and what we don't know, and being explicit also about the fact that how do we deal with the fact that things will change in the future. It's not going to be according to the models that are projected. Disasters are going to occur. And how do we deal with those things? And at the end of all of that, if our values are so important, if our personal experiences are so important to determine what we know and what we don't know, that means what we see is who we are, right? That means whenever we're in the room trying to solve a problem, the problem that we're trying to solve reflects who we are and how we understand reality to be. And unless we grasp that, it's going to be very difficult to actually get to the root of any negotiation and to develop any solution that will actually be implemented. And is the reason why engagement is so important on the ground. So I'm going to rush a little bit, but this is basically the starting point for the playbook that's going to be around you. And this is a series of questions and prompts that we lead young people and thought leaders and people who are catalysts in the communities to go through to reflect basically on their own starting point. What are their insights? What are the bugs that they have? How and why do they start solving the problems that they want to solve? And with that articulation, they're able to talk with more people and have more people identify what their problems are as well. And instead of a methodology, I also like to argue from my point of view that it's about a mindset, even more importantly than a methodology. And the mindset is something that I heard in this room and have heard from lots of young people as I was here. And that is start small, start from where you are. That means starting from your own perception of the problem. Every single one of the panelists had a particular interest in what they wanted to solve, and they went for it. Act in recognition also, and this is the humility part, and act in recognition that that is one of many perspectives. And it's never about just doing one thing. Being patient, not expecting things will change right at when something has been completed, but it takes years. And also then try again. So this resilience of having to go forward and be persistent in what you want to do are some of the mindsets that are needed probably behind lots of the tools that are being used. And just to end, this is the methodology itself. It's 5 steps. It's very basically the design thinking, but applied for systems transformation. More information and details you can find in the playbook itself. So, and these are just some of the graduates from a program that we developed in the Include Academy who have actually used the methodology to initiate projects across the world. And all of them have to do with their own communities, with the technology that they're familiar with, based on their education. So really thanks a lot for letting me be here. And for more information, you can find the QR code. Thank you.
Can we have a huge round of applause for Bin Bin, please? That was fantastic. I think systems thinking, design thinking, all of that's so important. When we first met, transdisciplinary research was what we connected on. So that's another word for you to look up. I'm sure you have a list of words that you're like looking at different rooms to look up, read more on. And speaking of more words and more acronyms, who here knows what ACE is? Okay, I see a couple of hands here. We actually have an expert here. So Maria Laura, who is the program officer with the Action for Climate Empowerment, that's what ACE stands for within the UNFCCC, is here. I know Leila as well spoke about UNFCCC is a great place to start off with some tools. We've been working on so many over the years. So yeah, Laura here will give us a look and feel on what you could expect. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you, Ridia, and good afternoon, everyone. Actually, the people who raised the hand, they are the expert. They are the ACE experts. They have been working on the ACE agenda item for a long time. So I guess that if you are not familiar with the Action for Climate Empowerment agenda, I really suggest that you speak, well, with me, but given that there are so many experts in the room, please feel free to reach out to them. For people who don't know the ACE, the Action for Climate Empowerment agenda, the action plan that was adopted by parties is the place in our process that speaks about capacity building for youth, so it's very relevant for you. But anyways, I'm not here to talk about ACE, and I will be very brief. I'm a very practical person, so I'm very, very pleased to share with you 2 tools that have been developed by the Secretariat. These are tools that are very process-related. So if you are here engaging at COP, if you would like to follow what is happening at COP29, or if you would like to understand the process better, These are two resources that are really very, very useful for you. I hope everyone takes the time also to scan the QR code. The first one is an online course. It's available on the UNFCCC Learn platform. It's open to everyone, developed by the Secretariat, and it's about navigating the UNFCCC process. So really about the different treaties, all this very complex architecture of bodies that are under all the treaties. So you hear about constituted bodies, subsidiary bodies, CMA, CMP, COP. What are they? What are the functions? Here in this course, everything is explained, and there is also a module that talks about the negotiations and the rules of procedure for our process. So it's a very, very interesting one. I suggest that everyone takes it. Even if you are very familiar with the process, I'm sure you're going to be learning something more. The second one is just out of the oven. It's also on the UNFCCC Learn platform. It's a course that has been developed thanks to the support from the COP28 UAE presidency and COP28 Youth Climate Champion. And it has been released just 2 weeks before we came to COP. It's about all the UNFCCC topics. So if you're following loss and damage, GGA, ACE, here is the platform where you can go and find information about what this is and also what is taking place at COP. A lot of people have, and a lot of young people actually have come to the Secretariat and requested to receive information about how to prepare better for COP. Well, 50 people in the Secretariat get together to develop this for you. So this is for you. Use it. It's very nice. And we are planning to update this every year. So next year, you're going to be finding information about what's taking place at COP30. Great. So I don't want to go really over all of this. I just wanted to make sure that we have an opportunity to share other resources that the Secretariat has developed for you. If I have to point at something, I think that there are two relevant resources that speak about action for climate empowerments and NDCs, which are very relevant now. One is the compendium that we have just published. There is a very nice, this is something that wasn't developed for youth, but is actually something that I also suggest everyone who is following Article 6 to take, is the Secretariat developed an online course as well on the UNCC Learn platform. And the last one, of course, the UNFCCC Capacity Building Portal is available to everyone. There are a lot of tools and resources. You can always count on this platform to find any information that you are looking for. And last but not least, and this is the last slide from my side, is the ACE Hub. We are very pleased to announce that the ACE Hub will continue for another 3 years. This is a partnership between the Secretariat and the North Rhine-Westphalia government in Germany. There is a pillar that focuses on youth and empowering youth to identify solutions that can be applied at the city, national, regional level. So this is going to continue. I have shared with you here a QR code to some of the webinars on education that we have been developing. The webinar series is going to be continuing next year. There are some discussion papers, so if you are interested in education, this is also, there are some very useful resources for you to check there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Laura. So we've done a bunch of things. We've had opening remarks, we've had a panel, we've had a presentation, 2 presentations. Now it's time for all of us to talk. Enough of just looking at the stage. Let's mingle. So we have 5 tables. They're on the screen as well. So we have the Sustainable Consumption and Production table, Food, Agriculture and Nature Assets there, NDCs, the Nationally Determined Contributions, Sustainable Energy, and Climate and Environmental Literacy there. We have a bunch of tools, 18 different tools, some by youth-led organizations, some youth-focused, but please do go through them. We have Akash's book over there as well as a hard copy, and Bin's Changemaker's Guide to the Energy Transition as a hard copy as well. So please enjoy the rest of the session, just mingle, and don't forget to share one tool that helped you out in your personal journey. With that, let's begin. Let's mix and mingle. Hello, everyone. I hope you've had the chance to look at the fantastic tools, resources, courses, QR codes. There are at least 45 QR codes in this room right now. But we are coming to the end of the session and we are preparing for the next one. But before you move on to the next session, we'd like for everyone who joined the Youth for Capacity session to come up over here. We're going to get a family picture. It's been wonderful having you all over here. So yeah, please do come up and we get a nice picture together. Haley, Joy, Liz, Zan. I'm like really going to name people and get them to come up. Akash, let's go. Bin, Karina, all the Youth for Cap folks, come on. Come on in. Jana, come on in. Joy. You can't not be here, Joy. Alejandro, of course you have to be here. Everyone that wants to be in the picture, just get in the picture. Eva, where are you? Oh, Eva's here. Eva, can you pass it to someone? Who's taking the photo? That's the question. Okay, we need some people to maybe the chairs are going to block it, Eva. I don't know how we're going to go about it. Should we just maybe stand up? I think we'll still be visible. Yeah. Yeah, you're standing on the lower thing, so we'll be good. Eva, I think you should be on the top one. Yeah. Okay, and can we squeeze in more? Okay, we need to squeeze in more. Okay. Okay, bend if there's someone behind you. Is everyone seen? Are we good? Everyone say Youth for Capacity. All right, I think we got enough. Thank you so much, everyone. This is fantastic. Stick around for the next one because we're still talking about tools. So you will be super hydrated at the end of the day.